Hi there. So welcome to Fearless Art, and I am very happy to have you join me today. And so today we're going to do this this palm plant, which is called the banana palm, or a large bird of paradise. And so this was a drawing here. And so let's get started. So just like we do all of our, we start all of our projects. This right here is the pattern. So I have a carbon paper here. I have my piece of canvas and my carbon paper. And I'm gonna just place this here and figure out where I wanna put it. So remember that you are able to shift it. So I can make sure it's centered. Here I'm allowing it to have a little bit more space down here. Actually, I think I'm going to put the stones a little bit closer to the bottom so that I have actually more space. So I'm shifting that so I have more space up here. All right, so then what you're gonna do, remember that this drawing is just for a quick sketch. So you don't have to necessarily have it and all the details, but I'm just going to go like this, and I just need to, so when I do a stem, I'm just going to do one, just bring it down. And then when I do my, the Sharpie marker, that's when I'll do the details of adding a little bit extra the details in the stem. But just for this tracing purpose, you're just going to get this here. And so we're just going to quickly do this low and write this out. Okay. And it's good to, like, I'm using a pencil here, so all it needs is something that has some pressure in it. So it's actually handy to have something that's different than maybe a black pen, so that you can actually see where it is that you've already traced. And then you see that I'm just keeping my hand on the paper so that it doesn't slide around. Okay. I actually did this drawing when I was in California, and I was at a pool just sitting there, and this plant was just on the side, and I just loved how it naturally tears up, and it has a really lovely texture to it. And then see here, these little rocks. And I'm not gonna add these, I'm not gonna add the shade at the bottom of the rocks. Okay. All right, and I think I have everything. That was very quick and easy. All right, so here's my drawing. All right, so let's take our Sharpie, and I'm gonna keep the drawing close to me so I can just make sure to see what I got going. Okay, so you see how all right, so then that was just one line, and now I made it into the two, and I'm just following this. And always feel free to kind of embellish or change your drawing any way that you feel comfortable. This is the drawings that I'm giving you are just for the general purpose of getting you started. All right. And I think my pen is, let me see here. All right, I'm gonna stop here for a second and go get myself a different pen. So just finishing up here. I got this little rock here, and I think I'm gonna just go ahead and make myself another rock to go off the edge of this paper, off this side here. So that'll be an addition, and I think we're, all right. So I'm going to, I think I'm gonna wait to do the shadows down here and see if I really need them when I do the coloring. So I think we're doing pretty good. I think I'm gonna add, let me see here, I need to add, I'm gonna do a little bit of a stem here to kind of show that that's that plant right there, that plant. And I've kind of noticed that I kind of lost direction of, so I have this leaf here, and I think I'm going to change the drawing a little bit. So I'm going to add this here and then add another, just so that this guy back here actually has a stem. So somehow that got kind of lost. All right, and all right, just kind of, there we go. All right, so now he has a stem. He's got, all right, so everybody has a stem, and everybody looks clear. Okay, so that's, all right, so that's the drawing. All right, so we've got that. We made the changes that we needed to make. And all right, so now this right here, of course, everything that we're dealing with here is going to be mostly greens. So I'm going to go ahead and put out, some yellow on our plate. And this one here is the golden green, which is one of my favorites. And okay, and then some this. All right, and then I'm just gonna do a little bit of this color here to give me some so that this has, so there could be like little edges of brown. And let's see here, and here's another. Hey. All right, so here I am. I'm making putting my greens down on my plate. And remember, the main method here is you just need a little bit of the colors on your plate, and you're just gonna add just a tiny little bit of water to it, so it's nice and watery and soupy. And then you can mix it and get your color in whatever direction you want. So here we go. I'm gonna add a little bit more of this. Okay, so I'm liking this color here. Let's see. And then this kind of gives it a nice kind of a green color, or I mean a kind of mossy color. So this is really nice. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start putting this down here. So remember that you're using the Sharpie so that you can just paint right over the lines, and you don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to put this down. Get this going. I'm going to get really fast. Get my colors down. All right, let me see here. So you're gonna use lots of water so that your first layer is very light, and then as you keep on letting it dry, and then you can build it up. Okay, and you can see here how much this paint really goes. It's really nice paint. So I can go right over this. I don't have to worry about the detail. Here we go. So I can go right over all my black lines. Just getting this down. I think I'm gonna have to, might have to make a little bit more paint. Okay. All right. Now, because we're working on the canvas, this is the watercolor canvas, and you can I use the watercolor canvas paper. That's what this is. I'll show you. So that's this right here, and so I use this so that I can actually matte and frame my paintings. If you wanted, you can do these drawings directly on canvas that's been stretched. When I teach classes in person, we just do the stretch canvas. Everybody likes the stretch canvas because you can just simply put a nail in the wall and hang it up. And whereas this right here, this canvas paper, you have to matte and frame. You would have to frame it in order for it to be to hang on the wall. I like this canvas. The reason I use this canvas a lot is, yes, you can matte and frame it, but also it just makes the storage, the problem of what am I doing with all these drawings and samples and examples of my paintings. So I can easily put all of this in a drawer and store it. Okay. All right, so now I've got the first layer of all this down. Okay, so now what I can do is I can go in, and I think I'm going to use, I need a tiny bit of blue because I want to, I'm going to use a tiny bit of blue. All right, let me see here. Sometimes these. All right, so in your kit, this is you're going to be getting golden high flow acrylics, and the starter kit is just going to have very, very small containers of this, and that's all you need. You can see this is, you just don't need a lot of this. It just takes very, very small amount. Okay, so now what I have is this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using this color, and since we're painting a little bit wet on wet here, I can kind of make little lines and give this painting a little bit more of a texture and a realistic look, and rather than it be all flat. All right, so now I'm going to go in, do some more details. And I'm being a little bit more careful with my color, so that I'm actually, so the lines in the leaf should go upward this way. So let me see here. There we go. Quiet. You can kind of see how when you're putting the colors down on the second, because the paint on the the first layer is not dry all the way. And sometimes you can let it dry and you would get a total different effect. But because this is a tropical painting, I'm working wet on wet, which means I'm not letting the first layer dry all the way before I put on the second layer. And what it does is it kind of allows it to bleed a little bit more, and it just feels more, just feels a little bit more watery. And because this is a tropical, I feel like that kind of lends itself into, you know, the feeling that you want, your plant, this drawing to have. So I'm just going to keep on going here. And I can keep on adding. And you're going to also see where I did not, when I did that first layer, the color, I did not go and have every little piece, all the little white areas all done. And what that does is you can see how when you put the second layer on, it actually makes it another color. So you've got just the values. You just have all of these different values. So let me see here, right here. And that's how, you know, this is how light hits it. This is how Mother Nature is that, you know, when you're looking at a leaf, it's just not flat green. There's all kinds of variations in that leaf. Let me go back here. I think that needs to be darker. There you go. All right. All right, and I'm just going to continue here. You can see I'm using a relatively small brush here. And I might even, there's areas here that I could, I think when we go back and do the stem, I think I'm going to change to an even smaller brush. Using this, I don't, other than doing the backgrounds, I really don't use a lot of big brushes. The smaller brushes allow me to just grab some water and do the effects that I need. Okay. All right, and let's see here. So we're just, there we go. All right, I'll add a little bit more water. All right, we're getting real. This is looking real nice here. All right, so this is kind of a little bit of a jumble, like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's hard to tell like which leaf starts and which one doesn't. So I'm going to just take my time and try to make sure each leaf has a different little story. So I'm going to try to change the color just a tiny bit for this one. Just to give him a little bit of a different shade so he's kind of sticks out. And then I think I'm going to go ahead back here. And this one is going to be a little bit different. See how I can just add just a tiny bit of color and let him stand out by himself here. Okay. And just add a little bit more water to get him in there. Okay. All right, let's get in here. There we go. Okay, so this is looking really nice. So I'm going to take some of that dark color. I'm going to bring the dark color back over here. Just do a little touch up of where I'd like to have some of the darker color. Let's bring the darker color here. I'm just kind of bringing around, seeing what makes sense to have dark and what makes sense to have light. So I'm just kind of see where I can put some color, some darker color. Just add a little bit more blue. There we go. And this is just showing where possibly some of the light is hitting versus where it's more a little bit more of a shadow. So let me do this one. So just kind of show. There we go. All right. It's looking real nice. Okay. So I think we're gonna just do underneath here a little bit. Nice. Okay, and just a little touch right here. Okay. And back here. There we go. Okay. Nice. All right. So then let's get ourselves a really nice color, and I actually need to change. I'm going to do a even smaller paintbrush for the stems, and I want it to be like really. Okay, so all right, so I'm making myself a much darker color here, taking some blue and this golden brown, and I've got this really nice dark deep color, and this is going to be for the stems. And I've also changed to a very small brush to get the details here. And this right here, I'm not adding like any water. This is like straight out of concentrated, right? Not diluted at all. There we go. Oops. Okay. This is really nice. So when you're using these paints, they're transparent, and so you can mix as much as you want. Just a dash of color will change the value of the paint, or the shade of the paint, and then the more you add water, that's how to change the value of it. And you can see this is really nice. And so even if you were to just take one color and just paint, just using water and mixing more or less water, you can actually get a great deal of interest in your painting, and not even just change the amount of water. But it's really nice because I'll show you, maybe I'll go, once I do the stems, then I think what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll show you that we can add maybe a yellow on top of some of these, and you'll see how you can just, once it's dry, you can add another color on top, and it just deepens the interest and the layering, and just makes the colors just so vibrant. All right, you can kind of see here where the stem is, where it's kind of bleeding just a tiny bit. Again, I'm not going to be like really heartbroken over this, because this painting is a tropical painting, and it sits right next to water. This is like, typically this little plant is just, I guess up north you can grow this plant inside, but when I first saw this plant, I was sitting outside by a pool in California, and so having it be more water-like, it's just, I feel like just is adding to it. Okay, let me see. There we go. All right, we're almost done. Okay. All right, it's really coming along. Okay, so then let's see here. All right, so I told you I would do maybe a little bit of something with some with yellow. I'm gonna add a little water, get the yellow. All right, so I can just, I don't know if you can see this, but I'll just do the edge. So some of these little branches or the little leaves here, I did not get all the way to the edge with the paint, so there's still some white areas. So once you do something like this, you can take a little bit of yellow and then just, you can go over the green, and then the green will change the color of the yellow. But if those little specks where you had just white and it was still kind of clean, then you're gonna get pure yellow, which that's kind of nice, because that's, you know, now you're saying to the viewer, oh, right here is exactly where the sun is reflecting and hitting the edge of that leaf. So I'm just gonna go over here and find all the little white spots and just fill it in. Again, I don't have to be exact, because even the color as it goes over the yellow or the green, it just changes and just adds a little more dimension to that color. Now, if I go into a place where, let's see here, I'll show you this. So if I go into a place that's still a little wet, you see how I can actually move. So now I'm actually blending the colors. So that's a little bit different. There you go. See how I'm putting the yellow down? Whoops. And so if it's dry, it's going to be yellow sitting on top of green or the white. And if it's wet, then I'm actually changing. I can actually blend and make another color. All right. So here we go. All right. So that's nice. Okay. And then that stem, let me go back and do this stem, because this stem needs a little bit of help right here. Let's see, a little water. This little, there you go. All right, there. And let me just go back over this one. Give him a little bit more. I didn't care for the yellow on there, on the stem. Okay. All right, and I think this needs just, oh. All right. All right, I got a little dash of water here, which I don't want. And I got, okay. Now, if you don't like something, which I didn't care for that. All right, there we go. I had it too, go back here. It wasn't blending in enough. It was too much of a line. There you go. It's a little bit more natural. Okay. All right. Now, let's see here. Now, what have we got? All right, so I'm gonna clean up my plate a little bit. And I've got some blue and let's see here, some other. Now what I want to do is, now I'm going to do the background, and so let's find, okay, here we go. I'm going to add lots and lots of water to this, and okay, alright, follow blue. Alright, and see here. Okay. Alright. So I'm just going to start adding the water and my color. Lots and lots of water. Now this is where the idea is that this, you know, the fact that this is not watercolor. So I can go right up to that line. And because these leaves are already dry, my background is not gonna, I'm not gonna be moving my color around. So I got this. There we go. Here we go. Alright, keep on going. And this is phthalo blue just by itself here. And I mean, it's just making a perfect kind of tropical background color for the sky. This is perfect. So, all right, that was not, that right there was not dry all the way. And so it kind of blended, but hey, it kind of shifted the color right there just slightly. I don't know if you can tell that, but it was yellow, and then it kind of shifted the sky just a tiny bit to green. But okay, all right. So I'm just gonna keep on going. I'm gonna get all of this. I want to get this down, and you can kind of see it's a little bit kind of. The more I add the water, it kind of beads up a little bit, but it's all gonna work out. This is, so I'm using these colors. These are acrylic, and I'm using these colors more in a inky watercolor way. And so they have kind of, it has a little bit of a bead. Plus this is watercolor paper, I mean watercolor canvas. So you just kind of just work it in, and it's all gonna work out. And then once I get all of this down, I want to get all of this down so I can kind of see how I'm not having to be like real careful, because well, right here I want to be careful. There we go. So I kind of touch that. So if you paint completely over your leaves, then what'll happen is that you will be shifting them to the blue, and you want your leaves to stay in the green. So you know, you want to be careful not to put too much blue on top of, but I can kind of, on the stems, I can kind of move things around a little bit, and I'll show you. So you can see how the blue is changing the colors of those stems, which I think is just fine. But I'm gonna go in, we're gonna, see here, we're gonna go in and we will address that in a few seconds. Just trying to get all this down. And you see how that right there changed. So it's gonna stay wet. I'm moving very fast, and I almost got this. Okay, so we got everything down. All right, all right. So I want to do a little bit darker at the top. All right. Okay. And you can see how I can change see how like this, with my paint strokes, I can kind of give it a little bit of a texture going on here. There we go. All right. And there's like a little pool. All right, and here. Okay. All right. All right, so I'm gonna clean up some of these pools of water in my drawing here. There we go. So I can just, my paintbrush, I'll just lift this up, just dry it off, lift it up. All right, I can add, there we go. So now, I'll try to, so now I don't want the pools to be too strong. All right, now what I can do is, let's see here, just make sure I got, there we go. All right, so I have the blue nicely evenly distributed. Okay, then what I can do is add just a little bit of water. And see if I can add a little bit of little cloud-like forms. Just some little fluffy things going on here. There we go. I'm just lifting a little bit. There you go. Lifting a little bit. You don't want to do too much in the background because you want your plant to be the focus here. But I'm just gonna kind of give him just a little bit of something there. All right. All right, I just want to give it, all right, I'm going to just kind of give it a little bit of a stripey, there you go, just give it a little, there you go. I think it's looking better with the little stripes. So I can just kind of shift it around. There we go. All right, so far so good. All right, so let's, okay. All right, and then I'm gonna do, let me see here. Let me see if we can make an interesting color for the stones. Okay, here's like a deep mossy color. That might work. Let's try it. It's a deep mossy color. Alright. And actually I think, alright, so I'm not liking it for the stones, but I think I do like it for the ground. Let's try this for the ground. I think this will be nice for the ground. There you go. All right, so I'll make this for the ground, and then I'll come up with another color for the stones. I'm gonna trying to see about staying away from, you know, black or gray, because I just want, so I think I'm gonna try maybe like a reddish. Let's try a reddish brown and see how we like that. So here's a little, and so red iron oxide and brown iron oxide, and see if we like that. I think that'll be good. Yeah. All right, and then I think the colors for the stones, and I need to change my brush. Go back to a smaller brush. There we go. All right, this is better. this looks really nice. And I think I'm just gonna, there you go, just add a little kind of the darker green mossy color at the bottom, give it a little bit of shading. And then remember that the drawing, I had actually drawn some shade at the bottom, yeah, right there. And I'll let this dry. And if it needs a little bit more line work, then we'll add some more line work. But this probably shady, probably good. All right, and then I think I'm gonna add some dark right here. I think that will work. Add some dark. Very nice. Okay. All right. Now, let's see here. Okay. Now I'm just gonna kind of blend this in a little bit so it's not much of a line. There we go. All right, and then the only last thing I see that I'm not happy with is how my rock is kind of bleeding into my sky. So I'm gonna, and that the reason it's doing that is just because, you know, I didn't wait for the sky to completely dry, but when you're doing yours, you can take a little bit more time. All right, and then I see just a couple little things. So I'm going to here try to get the sky a little bit closer to the rock. There we go. There we go. All right. All right, and you can see just as soon as you layer it, you know, it changes. So it really got darker right there, but all right. So I'm just gonna add a little bit here. So let's see here. There we go. It's still a little bit wet, so okay, and I can go right there's a little white, right there's a little white in the sky. Just kind of go down. All right. Where else? Where else does it need a little touch? Right there's a little touch. Get that, fix that up. So anytime you're like touching up something, you just put a little dot there and then just add a little water to kind of blend it out so it doesn't just look like a dab of color. Because you could leave it just like that if that was the effect, but we want it to blend out and join the rest of the sky so it doesn't just sit on top. So, all right, and got a couple more little areas right here. Could use a little bit more defined blue. And dash of water. Now, you're gonna see my color, this is my water. And so if I had much more painting than this to do, I would definitely be changing out my water and getting some cleaner water. But the little bit of green that's in there is it's actually changing. It'll actually change the what, you know, as I'm adding color, it's actually changing the tone of the paint that I'm using. So it's just, I don't mind it because it kind of blends in. But if I needed to really make a change in my color, because all I'm doing is blues and greens. So if my water has a little bit of green in it, it's really not hurting anything. Just probably actually helping a little bit. All right, there we go. All right, whoops, let's get that. There you go. I hope you enjoyed this painting, and thank you for joining Fearless Art, and please join me for the next painting. All right, have a wonderful day.